"We're just friends." That's what she said, her voice trembling like a violin string, high-pitched, almost sharp enough to cut the air. Just friends. So tell me, why did I hear her friend call her baby while he was buttoning his pants in my bedroom? Why did I hear her giggle, half nervous, half delighted, the way she used to when she wanted me to chase her around the kitchen? Why, if they were just friends, did I hear him whisper, "Next time don't forget to lock the door"? I wasn't supposed to be home. That's the part she didn't count on. She thought she had time to sneak him out, time to fix the sheets, time to spritz perfume over the scent of sweat. But life has a way of tripping people up when they think they're in control. I stood in the doorway of the hallway, frozen, heart hammering against my ribs so hard I swear it rattled. I could see shadows through the half-open door, hear the faint zip of denim, the scuffle of shoes slipping back on, and then the laughter, soft, guilty, intimate. That laughter wasn't for me, hadn't been for a long time. When I stepped inside, she jumped back like a child caught stealing cookies. He froze too, halfway through tucking in his shirt. Our eyes met for a second. His were calm, almost smug, as if daring me to do something. Then he smirked, actually smirked, and I realized in that split second that he didn't respect me at all. Why would he? He was in my house, in my bed, with my wife. He had already won the game she and I didn't even know we were playing. She stammered, tugging her robe closed. "It's not. He's just a friend." I laughed. I don't know why, it wasn't humor. It was disbelief spilling out of my chest. A bark of a laugh, bitter and sharp. "Friends. He calls you baby while he's buttoning his pants, and that's your story." Her lips trembled. His smirk widened. And me, I felt something strange in that moment. Not rage, not heartbreak, but clarity. Like the kind of clarity you get when lightning strikes close and suddenly the whole night is lit up for just a second. I didn't shout, didn't lunge, didn't throw anything. I simply stepped back, looked her dead in the eyes, and said, "Finish your friendship. I'll wait." And I turned, walked down the stairs, and sat on the couch, hands folded, while my pulse beat like war drums in my ears. He left a few minutes later. No apology, no shame. He nodded at me like I was the doorman on his way out, and she followed him to the door, whispering something urgent, frantic. When she came back to the living room, her face was pale, her mascara smudged, her hands wringing the hem of her robe. "Please," she said softly. It wasn't what it looked like. That line. God, I could have recited it before she even opened her mouth. The anthem of every cheater caught in the act. I stared at her, really stared. At the woman I'd promised my life to. At the same lips that had kissed me at the altar, now swollen from someone else's mouth. At the robe I bought her last Christmas, now covering a body I thought was mine alone. And I felt a calm settle over me, because there was no more guessing, no more wondering if my suspicions were paranoia, no more late nights convincing myself she was just busy or tired. The truth was right there in front of me, buttoning his pants and calling her baby. "You insult me," I said finally, my voice low. "You don't just betray me, you insult my intelligence. You expect me to believe that was friendship." Her tears spilled over then. "I made a mistake." "No," I cut her off. "A mistake is dropping a glass. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. What you did, that's not a mistake. That's a choice." She broke then, collapsing onto the couch, sobbing into her hands. But I didn't touch her. I didn't comfort her. I just sat, still as stone, watching her unravel. Because here's the thing nobody tells you about betrayal. When you see it with your own eyes, it doesn't shatter you the way movies make it look. It doesn't send you screaming or throwing punches. No, it crystallizes you. It freezes you into something unrecognizable because the person who believed in them so fully dies in that moment and someone new takes his place. Someone harder. Someone colder. That night, I didn't sleep in our bed. Our bed. The sheets were still warm with the ghost of him, and I wasn't going to lie there pretending it was just cotton and fabric. I went to the guest room, shut the door, and lay awake staring at the ceiling. And as I lay there, I started replaying everything. The late nights, the excuses, the way she angled her phone away when it buzzed, the new lingerie she swore she bought for me but never wore in front of me, the perfume that started running out twice as fast, the sudden inexplicable girls' nights. Every little thing I'd brushed off, every gut instinct I'd silenced, now stood in front of me like a neon sign flashing. You knew, you just didn't want to see it. I turned it over in my mind again and again. Her words, "We're just friends." His smirk as he buttoned his pants. The way she sobbed into her hands, not because she regretted it, but because she got caught. And somewhere between the silence of the night and the pounding of my heart, I made a decision. I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. The next morning she made breakfast like nothing had happened. Pancakes, bacon, orange juice. She set the table carefully, her hands trembling as she placed the plates. She was trying, I could see that. Trying to reset, trying to pull us back into the old rhythm. But the rhythm was broken, the music gone. We ate in silence. I watched her over my coffee, watched her avoid my eyes, watched her try to force down bites she couldn't swallow. And in that silence I realized something else. The confrontation wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Because if she thought she could gaslight me into believing what I'd seen with my own eyes, if she thought she could patch this over with pancakes and tears, she had no idea who she was really married to. I wasn't the man who would scream and cry and beg for her to choose me. I wasn't the man who would cling to her out of fear of being alone. No, I was the man who would watch, wait, document, prepare. Because betrayal isn't just about what they do to you, it's about what you do with it after. and I was going to do something with it, something she'd never see coming. You know that feeling when you finally stop lying to yourself? It's brutal at first, but it's also liberating. That was me the morning after I found him in my house, smirking while buttoning his pants. I'd spent months brushing things off, convincing myself I was paranoid, swallowing down the gut punches of suspicion because I didn't want to be that guy, the insecure husband, the jealous type. But now I had seen it with my own eyes. There was no more pretending. And once you stop pretending, you start noticing everything. It was like my vision sharpened overnight. Every twitch, every sigh, every look at her phone became crystal clear. She thought she was clever. She thought that if she cooked breakfast, kissed me on the cheek, and sprinkled in a few I love yous, I'd forget. But once the curtains ripped back, you can never see the stage the same way again. She went about her routine and I went about mine, but in silence I began my investigation. Quietly, calmly. The key wasn't to confront her. Not yet. The key was to let her think she still had me fooled. That gave me the advantage. I started with her phone, of course. I didn't grab it out of her hands, that would have been sloppy. Instead, I watched. I timed the way her messages came in, how she always angled the screen just slightly away from me. I noticed she set it face down on the table, always within reach, never across the room. Once, while she showered, she left it unlocked by accident. I didn't scroll far, I didn't need to. The notifications alone told me the story. A string of messages from him. Little hearts, pet names, plans to meet. That was confirmation number one.
Then came her schedule. She'd been taking more late meetings at work, more girls' nights, more sudden errands that stretched long past reason. I started mapping them. I kept a notebook, black cover, nothing written on it, hidden in my desk at work. Every time she claimed one thing, I'd write it down. Every time I found proof it was something else, I'd jot that too. A pattern began to emerge, like the night she said she was having dinner with her sister. I casually texted her sister the next day, asking how it went. Dinner, her sister replied. I haven't seen her in weeks. Lie caught. Or the time she said she was out shopping for clothes. The credit card statement later showed a charge for a boutique hotel downtown. Not exactly Macy's. Lie caught. It was almost insulting how sloppy she'd gotten. But then again, cheaters always get sloppy. It's not arrogance exactly, it's comfort. They get used to lying. They get used to you not noticing. They get comfortable enough to smirk at you while buttoning their pants in your bedroom. I gathered it all. Receipts, statements, notes. I photocopied what I could, snapped photos of her car parked outside places she never told me she was going. I didn't confront. I didn't accuse. I just collected. Because I wasn't going to give her the chance to twist the story. And she would twist it. I knew that already. She'd already tried. We're just friends. As if friends call each other baby while fumbling with zippers. No, she would have spun every word, cried on cue, painted me as paranoid. That's why I needed the evidence to speak louder than either of us. The deeper I dug, the more I realized something chilling. This wasn't new. This wasn't some sudden reckless fling. This had been going on for months, maybe longer. I found receipts dated nearly a year back. Hotel stays, dinners, even a weekend trip she swore was a work retreat. A year. She'd been splitting her life down the middle for a year while I sat in the dark, convincing myself the shadows weren't real. You'd think that realization would have broken me, but it didn't. It hardened me. It gave me focus. Betrayal has this strange way of transforming you. At first it cuts you wide open, but then it forges you into something sharper. I wasn't broken. I was awake. So I kept playing my part. The calm husband. The one who smiled, nodded and kissed her cheek. The one who didn't flinch when she said she had to work late. I let her believe she was still winning. I let her think the script was still hers. But every night I sat with that notebook, filling it with her lies. And every page I added wasn't just proof against her. It was proof of who I was becoming. A man who wouldn't be gaslit. A man who wouldn't be the fool. A man who would write the ending of this story himself. The hardest part wasn't watching her lie. It was pretending I didn't know. Sitting across from her at dinner while she smiled that guilty smile. Sitting beside her in bed while she texted him under the covers. Sometimes my hands itched with the urge to rip the phone away, to throw the evidence in her face, but I held back, because patience is the ultimate weapon, and I wanted her to feel safe right up until the moment I pulled the ground out from under her. That opportunity came sooner than I expected. One evening she announced she had another girls' night. She dressed up, put on the perfume I bought her last Christmas, kissed me lightly on the cheek and left. I gave her a 20-minute head start, then followed. She didn't go to her friend's house. She didn't go to a restaurant. She drove straight to that same hotel downtown. I parked a block away, watched her walk in, and waited. 10 minutes later, he arrived. Same man. Same smug confidence. He kissed her at the door like they were in a movie. Then they disappeared inside. I sat there in my car, fists clenched, the weight of it all pressing down. I could have stormed in. I could have shouted, thrown punches, dragged them out by the hair. But I didn't. Instead, I raised my phone and snapped the photo. Her car. His car. The hotel sign lit up behind them. Time-stamped, undeniable. I stayed long enough to watch them check in, then drove home. That night, she came back smelling of wine and excuses. It was fun, she said brightly. The girls send their love. I just smiled. That's nice. She kissed my cheek, relieved, thinking the lie had landed. And I knew then with absolute certainty,
the end was coming. Because the rope she thought she was climbing was the same rope she was hanging herself with, and I was the one holding the other end. I had the rope in my hands for weeks before I decided to pull it tight. Every lie she told, every excuse she whispered, every giggle she tried to pass off as nothing, those were knots on the rope. The receipts in my folder, the photos on my phone, the late-night scribbles in my notebook, all of it was coiling tighter and tighter, waiting for the moment. She didn't see it. She thought she was free. She thought the game was hers. And that's exactly why I waited. The confrontation wasn't going to be an explosion. Explosions burn hot and fast. They leave you drained, shaking, without direction. No, I wanted precision. I wanted her to feel the floor crack under her feet slowly, to realize she'd been standing on a trapdoor of her own making. I wanted her to see me not as the fool she thought I was, but as the man she'd never really understood at all. The stage I chose was our anniversary dinner. It sounds twisted, I know, but hear me out. She loved anniversaries. She'd plan them for weeks, drop hints about gifts, obsess over restaurants. This year she was quieter. Maybe guilt weighed her down. Maybe she thought she didn't deserve to celebrate. Or maybe she was saving her energy for him. So I offered. I told her I'd book the restaurant, handle everything. She smiled, relieved, and for the first time in months kissed me like she almost meant it. I picked a quiet, upscale place. White tablecloths, candles flickering in crystal holders, the hum of polite conversation all around. She wore a black dress I hadn't seen in years, the kind of dress women wear when they're trying to remind you of who they once were. Her hair was perfect, her perfume heavy. She looked like the woman I married. But I knew better. We ordered wine, made small talk. She told me about work, about her sister's baby, about plans for the holidays. I nodded, asked questions, smiled in all the right places. She thought we were good again. She thought the storm had passed. Halfway through the meal, I set my fork down and reached into my jacket. "I got you something," I said, smiling. Her eyes lit up, surprised. "Really? I didn't." "It's okay," I said softly. "This year it's just about me showing you how much I appreciate honesty." She tilted her head, confused. And then I slid the first photo across the table. Her face went white. It was the shot of her and him outside the hotel, kissing under the glow of the neon sign. She froze, tried to laugh it off. "What is this?" I slid another. A receipt from that same night, time-stamped, her credit card number circled. Her breath quickened. Another photo, her car and his parked side by side.
Another. A screenshot of her texts. "Can't wait to see you, baby." Her hand shook as she reached for her wine, but I kept going. One by one, I laid them out like cards in a deck. The hotel charges, the dinner bills, the photos of them together, and finally the one that broke her, the shot from our own bedroom window. Him standing half-dressed, her robe sliding off her shoulders. She covered her mouth, tears spilling. I leaned in, my voice low, calm, deliberate. "Don't say it's not what it looks like. Don't insult me again. I've watched you lie for months. I've watched you erase me piece by piece. And all the while you thought I didn't see it. But I did. I saw everything." Her tears streamed now. "Please," she whispered. "Not here. Not like this." "Why not here?" I asked. "You had no problem lying here. No problem meeting him here. No problem bringing him into my bed. Why should the truth be private when the betrayal was public?" She sobbed into her hands. The waiter glanced nervously from across the room, but I waved him off. I reached into my jacket again and pulled out the final envelope, a copy of the prenup. I slid it across. "You remember this?" I asked. "You said it was unnecessary, that you'd never betray me, but I insisted. And here it is. Clause 14. Infidelity means forfeiture. You lose your claim to the house, the accounts, the investments. You walk away with nothing." Her hands trembled as she opened it, eyes scanning the page. She looked up at me, panic-stricken. "You wouldn't." "I already did," I said, calm as ice. "The papers are filed. Monday you'll get the notice. Tonight is just for me to watch you realize what you've done." She broke then, shoulders shaking, tears smearing her makeup, her sobs loud enough to draw stares from nearby tables. She whispered apologies, begged for another chance, promised it meant nothing. But I didn't move. I didn't soften. "You chose him," I said quietly, over and over. "Don't cry now like you don't understand what that means. This isn't me leaving you. This is you throwing me away." I gathered the photos, slipped them back into the envelope and stood. "Dinner's on me," I said. "Consider it my last gift." And then I walked out. The aftermath was chaos. She called me hundreds of times in the weeks that followed. At first begging, then angry, accusing me of being cruel, manipulative, cold. She showed up at my office once, mascara streaking down her face, begging me to talk. I walked right past her. Our friends took sides. Some whispered that I was too harsh, that everyone makes mistakes. Others shook my hand quietly, told me I did the right thing. Her family reached out once, pleading for me to reconsider. I didn't. The divorce went through fast, thanks to the prenup. The house was mine. The accounts were mine. She left with nothing but her clothes, and her regret. Him. I heard he dumped her not long after. The fantasy always collapses once it's exposed to daylight. As for me, I rebuilt. Slowly, quietly. I moved into a new rhythm. one without suspicion hanging over my head. I went back to the gym, picked up old hobbies, called friends I hadn't seen in years. I laughed again, not the hollow kind, but the real kind, the kind that comes from somewhere deep. Sometimes, late at night, I'd think about that first moment, standing in the hallway, hearing him call her baby while buttoning his pants. It used to sting, that memory. But over time it became something else, a turning point, a reminder. The moment I stopped being blind, the moment I started becoming the man I was always supposed to be. Because betrayal doesn't end you, it remakes you. She thought she'd broken me, but really she freed me. And now I walk lighter, stronger, calmer, because I know the truth. And the truth is this: the day you catch them isn't the day you lose everything. It's the day you finally stop losing yourself.